Welcome to night 12 of our 24 nights of live streams. We're at the halfway point, and today is October 2nd. October 2nd is Gandhi's birthday and the day of an International Day of Nonviolence. As always, we start these sessions off by reciting the preamble to the Constitution. Let's start with that. We, the people of the United States of America, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. All right. My name is Brian. Welcome to our session today on a political structure based on nonviolence. Today is October 2nd. Today is Gandhi's birthday. He was born on October 2nd, 1869, 155 years ago. And the United Nations, a few years back, declared this the International Day of Nonviolence. So it seemed like a good opportunity to dedicate tonight's session to the principles of nonviolence that make the philosophical foundation for the American Union model of 21st century collaborative democracy. So we're going to focus a little more on those principles tonight. We've talked about the mechanics of the American Union, how the American Union model flips things around. Congress is failing to do its duty in setting national policy, so we the people can do that by crowdsourcing the process, writing good, clean policy outside the swamp of Washington, D.C., telling Congress exactly what we expect them to get done, and by unionizing as voters nationwide, swing voters, we can collectively bargain across all 470 federal races, and not by playing the Republicans versus Democrats game, but by pitting incumbents versus challengers, giving the incumbents an opportunity to get the job done and serve the American people. And if they don't want to do that, then replace them with their challengers. What are we bargaining for? Well, as you can see the three planks right there: end poverty, end mass incarceration, end the endless wars. And those three planks address, I'll share my screen here again. Address Martin Luther King's triple evils in his Beyond Vietnam speech in April 4th, 1967. He threw down this challenge. He said, "Our only hope today lies in our ability to recapture the revolutionary spirit and to go out into a sometimes hostile world, declaring eternal opposition to poverty, racism, and militarism. With this powerful commitment, we shall boldly challenge the status quo." He identified these triple evils more than 60 years ago, and they're still with us. They still need to be addressed. We still have poverty. Racism is very present in our criminal justice system, and the endless wars, the military-industrial complex is very much with us. So, how do we address that using the principles of nonviolence? That's what we're going to talk about tonight. Nonviolence, before Martin Luther King, there was Gandhi, and he said nonviolence is the greatest force at the disposal of mankind. It is mightier than the mightiest weapon of destruction devised by the ingenuity of man. Because nonviolence is constructive. It looks for solutions. It builds bonds instead of destroying them. I am a big fan of Gandhi's, and there's three big ways that he's influenced the American Union model. And so the first of them is the fast for peace. The fast for peace is at the hub of the American Union model. It's sort of the center of the wheel with other pieces attached to it, sort of the spokes. And Gandhi didn't know that America had actually used national days of fasting before, a century before he tried it. What brought him to using a national day of fasting as a way of uniting people was after World War One. Now, in World War One, the Indian people, a million men volunteered to fight with the British during World War One, and in exchange, in offering their service, there was maybe sort of an expectation that afterwards they might get something like a path to independence. But instead, what the British gave them was the Rowlatt Act. And the Rowlatt Act was a piece of legislation passed in the name of fighting terrorism, restricted civil liberties, took away due process, and the Indian people couldn't do much about it because the British didn't allow them to vote on anything important. There were some Indian members of some of the panels and the commissions and things like that, but the British kept them as a minority. So when it came time to vote on passage of the Rowlatt Act, it was not a party line vote. It was a British versus Indian vote, and the British pushed it right through. So Gandhi was one of many people who were upset about this infringement on their civil liberties, and he tried to figure out what he could do. How could he organize people against it? And he wrote in his autobiography that one night it came to him as if in a dream that there should be a nationwide hartal. Now, hartal, I generally define it as a one-day general strike with fasting. So shut down the economy. Don't shop. Don't accept employment. Don't go to work, and observe a day of fasting. And so on April 6, 1919, this was a huge success. People all across the subcontinent participated. And Gandhi addressed a crowd of about 150,000 people who had gathered on a beach with him. And he said, "No country has ever risen. No nation has ever been made without sacrifice. And we are trying an experiment of building ourselves up by self-sacrifice, without resorting to violence in any shape or form. This is Satyagraha." Satyagraha is this tactic that Gandhi developed, and Martin Luther King and Cesar Chavez and other nonviolent organizers have implemented. It's often described as soul force or truth force. It is active nonviolence as a way of combating evil. It's not passive, it is active. And so this first National Day of Fasting, it brought Hindus and Muslims together behind a common goal of objecting to British rule. Gandhi was, the British tried to keep the Hindus and Muslims divided, to divide and rule, but Gandhi was able to bring them together through the National Day of Fasting. And so the Fast for Peace, that's at the hub of the American Union model, is an answer to a challenge that Gandhi laid down in August of 1947. He said, the 15th was the day of our trial, observe a fast on that day. August 1947 is when India finally got its independence from British rule. And unfortunately for Gandhi, his efforts at keeping the country united had failed. And as the British left, they hacked the country into 3 separate pieces. Gandhi called it vivisection. And in the city of Kolkata, religious riots the year before had left thousands and thousands of people dead in the streets. And so it was a powder keg, just waiting to explode. But Gandhi united people through the fast for peace, and kept the peace there. And so, 75, however many years later, we can still answer answer that challenge. The 15th is the day of our trial. Observe a fast on that day. So the fast for peace is simple. It's a 24-hour period without food or recreational intoxicants, drinking water only. And those, whatever 24-hour period works for you, it's individual. Set it to your own schedule, but most of those 24 hours should be on the 15th of the month. Gandhi recommended the dinner-to-dinner fast. I always tell people that's the easiest way to start because you never have to go to bed hungry. So if you eat dinner on the night of the 14th, skip breakfast and lunch, and then after 24 hours eat dinner on the 15th, it's not too difficult. If you're not sure if just drinking water for 24 hours is safe for you, check with your doctor, but it is beneficial, has mental and physical benefits for almost everyone. If you're pregnant or nursing or got a handful of medical conditions, then medical exemptions are available. Whatever accommodations that you need to make, but still keep the spirit of the fast, that this shared self-sacrifice. We are trying an experiment of building ourselves up by self-sacrifice. Some people who have had medical issues have observed the fast for peace by giving other things up instead, as a way to share in that self-sacrifice. There is, so some of the benefits of the fast for peace as the hub of the American Union model is that it's free and it's accessible. You don't have to buy anything. In fact, it saves you money. Fastforpeace.org has a charity each month that we ask people to donate the money that they saved on food to a cause to help others. So again, the fast is free and accessible. What's really important though is that it's voluntary. This is not starving. It takes an intention to willingly give up food for 24 hours. And so that makes this an opt-in process. You have to want to do this. If you don't want to, that's okay. It's your choice. But this is a way of opting in. Fasting also encourages personal growth and reflection. It brings physical and mental health benefits. Helps improve our willpower. Makes us more resilient. It's good for our bodies to take a break from digestion every now and then. Fast also serves as an invitation for cooperation. Everyone is invited to participate. And it's a shared intention, a shared self-sacrifice that can bring us together for a common goal, for peace. The fast also helps us seize the moral high ground. It's a fast of moral pressure to inspire others, to inspire Congress, to come together and address our problems. The hashtag Fast for Peace is an engine for social media attention by using that. It also anchors the social change in nonviolence. Fasting is very, very nonviolent, right? It's not imposing anything on anyone else, only on ourselves. As I said, it serves as the hub for the American Union framework, and last but not least, it demonstrates a willingness to compromise. As I like to say, fasting and compromise are two sides of the same coin. They're willingly giving something up. And too frequently in America today, people don't want to compromise. People want everything. We have a culture of instant gratification. One of the other Gandhian aspects of the American Union program is the constructive program, that things are laid out as a holistic set of solutions to address social and cultural problems. And we're going to talk more about how the American Union is a constructive program on October 10th, not this evening. All right. Anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat as we go along. So one of the other big influences that Gandhi had on this framework is the idea of duties versus rights. Gandhi, growing up in America, we talk about our rights, our constitutional rights, all the time. And after World War II, H.G. Wells, you probably know him as a science fiction author of, The Time Machine and War of the Worlds. But he was also a very dedicated pacifist and socialist. And so after World War II, he started composing a list of rights of men, rights of man. And he reached out to Gandhi and said, all right, here's this list that I've got. Is there anything that you want to add to it? Anything that I missed? And Gandhi says, yeah, you missed something. You started at the wrong end. Instead, you should be creating a list of duties. Because I promise you that when you start with the list of duties, rights will follow like spring follows winter. And so I was a little resistant to this idea of duties coming before rights for a while. But eventually I started to see the truth of it. I think one of the best examples in our lifetime is marriage equality. When I was growing up in the 20th century, nobody felt a duty to ensure that two men or two women could get married. It wasn't a thing. But today, a quarter century into the 21st century, there very much is a societal feeling that we should protect the rights of two individuals, whether they're a man and a woman or a same-sex couple, to enter into marriage. So that we've expanded the rights, expanded people's rights that way. So this really fits into the American Union structure because the American Union, as a crowdsourced process, as a people-powered organization, works from the bottom up. Now, rights, Thomas Jefferson, famously wrote in the Declaration of Independence that all men have certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it's important to understand that Jefferson was making a political argument that these things were not. He was making an argument, right? And he was trying to frame the debate in a way that supported the American cause. But it was very clear, since many of the framers were slave owners, that these rights weren't actually inalienable. So it made a good soundbite, but it didn't necessarily reflect reality. But the idea of rights back in the 18th century was because everyone was used to a top-down power structure. The king was at the very top, and then the people were below him, and king had all the power, and so rights were a shield. Rights were to protect us from abusive authority from up above. And so that was the idea of the Bill of Rights, to protect us from the king, the government. And so that works for a top-down power structure. But when we unionize as voters, when we create a bottom-up power structure, that can't be based on rights. It's got to be based on duties. What do we owe each other? How do we help each other? And when we ask those questions, we can still get to the same end, where people are still treated the same. But it is that perspective is important. We all, whether you say the king has no right, can't take away our right of marriage equality, or you say we all have a duty to protect marriage equality, you can still get to the same place. But there is a philosophical difference between you get there. As again, that the rights-based structure, rights asks the question, what does everyone else owe me? What am I owed? And whereas a duty-based structure Duties are about asking, what do I owe everyone else? And so rights have an aspect of greed to them. You probably, we kind of saw this in the pandemic, right? This was sort of the philosophical argument over masks. Do I have a right to not wear masks, or do you have a duty to wear masks to protect others? And yeah, that was kind of that debate in a nutshell. So the American Union is focused on duties, and if you think about it, like, this is the golden rule. The golden rule is a duty. Golden rule is, how treat others the way you want to be treated. It does not say demand that others treat you the way that you treat them. It is the golden rule is a duty. So when I came to this understanding, I started coming up with a list of duties. What are the things that we should be doing? How do we define what we owe each other? And I came up with some good ones. I bounced them off of different friends. Again, trying to create positive statements of intention. I bounced them off a friend in India who said, practice good hygiene. That's an important one that we owe other people. So as I continued to look at this, I realized that America actually already has one. And it turns out that is in the preamble. The preamble lays out five duties for Americans, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. And that more perfect union has five goals: establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. And so as we're looking for ways to bring people together, the Constitution is our common political ancestor, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, a Green, a Fordist, a Libertarian, whatever. The Constitution is our common political ancestor. It's what makes us Americans. And so by getting back to the basics, by focusing on what do we want to do, what do we want to accomplish, the American Union uses that structure to guide what it is that how we're addressing societal problems. Are we meeting those things? And in 2024, so in 2024, that is the Trump-Biden peace plan. And the Trump-Biden peace plan has 5 titles so far in the series of nightly live streams. We've worked our way through the first 2 and halfway through the third one. So we've covered a lot of criminal justice reform towards ending mass incarceration and establishing justice. We covered the truce on guns and abortion to ensure domestic tranquility. We're halfway through providing for the common defense and in a manner closer to what the framers intended, and ending the endless wars. Next week, we're going to start on promoting the general welfare, looking at healthcare reform, unconditional basic income, and then securing the blessings of liberty. Once again, you notice how the framers put securing the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, how that comes last. The first 4 things are what do we owe each other, and then last, we look out for ourselves. The framework is clear once you recognize the pattern. It's pretty clear. And so securing the blessings of liberty, Title V of the Trump-Biden peace plan. Title V, it safeguards and improves some government systems to ensure Social Security is stabilized, to make sure the government stays functional, and addresses other issues like protecting the environment, so that we're securing the blessings of liberty for our posterity, for our kids who shouldn't inherit a polluted planet. As I've continued to study this talk about a few more of the duties of nonviolence before we before we reach Martin Luther King. All right. So some of the duties of nonviolence, and a lot of this is covered in my novel, Looking Backward from the Tricentennial, A Timely Tale of Nonviolent Revolution. See if I can show this without it disappearing. Which lays out the American Union, the 2024 campaign. The novel uses fiction to present the new paradigm, demonstrates how unionizing as voters is powerful, looks at American history, explains the fast for peace, and looks at monetary reform, really emphasizes human worth and value, and so tonight I'd like to give away an autographed copy of my novel. Got to be an American living in America, that I can drop it in the U.S. mail for you. So if you'd like to win a free autographed copy of the novel, visit anamericanunion.com and sign up for any of the forums on americanunion.com. So you can sign up for the newsletter, even if you're already signed up. If you're already getting our newsletter, that's fine. Putting your name in again count as an entry. You can pledge for the Fast for Peace or for the General Strike October 15th. Make a donation or join and become a paying member. So any of those forms on the website will enter you into, I'll pick one random person at the end of whoever enters between now and 8 p.m. One entry per person, please. All right, so the novel definitely digs into all of these things a little more deeply than I can do in an hour. But let's look at some of the other duties of nonviolence and listening and offering dignity. This is really one of the real problems with our political system, that it is inherently adversarial, and because of that, Republicans and Democrats divide us. They get us to fight against each other, and it is very much not about offering dignity. It's about beating the other side, proving that the other side is that your side is the good side, the other side is the bad guys. Offering dignity involves trusting people to do the right thing, looking for the best in them instead of the worst. Because we're all imperfect. I'm imperfect. We're all imperfect, but we're all capable of self-improvement. We're all capable of being better. And it's that philosophy that drives a lot of the criminal justice reform and ending mass incarceration, the Title I establishing justice, is that philosophy of believing in people's ability to be better. Second, striving for win-win scenarios. And the thing, again, about elections is that they are a zero-sum game. That the only way that Republicans can win a seat in the House or Senate is if they take it away from the Democrats. And likewise, Democrats have to take it away from the Republican. The way things are set up, it's a zero-sum game. One winner, one loser. And when it comes to nonviolence, we want to think outside of that framework. How do we help everyone come out ahead? How do we create win-win scenarios? And so by changing the definition of what it is to win, and instead of winning being about who controls this or that, winning can be about getting things done. Winning can be about Congress actually setting policy that is good for the American people. Winning can be improving the quality of life for every American. That's a win-win scenario where you all come out ahead by passing this legislative package. Consuming mindfully, again, so this sort of ties back into the fast for peace. I was talking to another American Union organizer today, and he was telling me how, on the 15th of the month for the fast for peace, he usually has coffee in the morning, but instead he'll just have hot water. He's demonstrating self-control and being more mindful of his consumption. So it's not just a personal thing, but also for the larger goals. Again, coming back to the pollution, right? We want to consume in a way that doesn't destroy our planet for our kids to inherit a mess. Gandhi said, there's enough for every man's need, but not every man's greed. So being mindful. Leading by example, you may have seen the bumper sticker with the quote attributed to Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world. You think about Martin Luther King, how he led the march over the Pettus Bridge in Selma, leading by example, showing don't tell, demonstrating good behavior. Empowering meaningful consent, making sure that people have the opportunity to make meaningful choices around about their lives. And so, under the American Union's, the legislative package, unconditional basic income gives people more power to make decisions, reduces the economic coercion that is too frequent in the United States. And then we talked about it last night in the reducing the number of foreign military bases, how holding local referendums around the 750 foreign military bases and asking the local population if they want us there, giving them a chance to consent to our very wide military footprint on the planet. And reducing unnecessary suffering, again, looking out for others, and ending poverty does an awful lot to do that. Poverty drives an awful lot of problems, including childhood poverty. Right? We've got, when Congress let the expanded child tax credit expire in 2022, they pushed 5 million American children down into poverty. And growing up in poverty has a lifetime of consequences. It creates childhood trauma. And so unconditional basic income through the American Union Jobs Program will reduce that unnecessary suffering. And Gandhi, not long before he was assassinated, he wrote this thing. He said, "I will give you a talisman. Whenever you are in doubt, or when the self becomes too much with you, apply the following test. Recall the face of the poorest and weakest person whom you may have seen, and ask yourself if the step you contemplate is going to be of any use to that person. Will they gain anything by it? Will restore them to a control over their life and destiny? In other words, will it lead to freedom for the hungry and spiritually starving million? With this talisman, you'll find your doubts and yourself melt away." Looking out for others. All right, so that covers some of the Gandhian aspects and the duties of nonviolence. Let's talk about Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King, when he was in college, he heard a lecture about Gandhi, and he was very intrigued by this man. So he went out and he bought like a half a dozen books on Gandhi and began to study him, and later said that Gandhi was the person who had the greatest influence on his life. And so one of his, so he came up with 6 principles of nonviolence, which we'll talk about in a minute. But before that, I want to talk about his letter from Birmingham jail. And let me share the screen here again. Got a good quote. So he wrote, "Nonviolent direct action seeks to create such a crisis and foster such a tension that a community which has consistently refused to negotiate is forced to confront the issue. It seeks to so dramatize the issue that it can no longer be ignored." And this is what the American Union does with the Trump-Biden peace plan. By offering Congress a chance to keep their jobs in exchange for getting this done, we are generating that creative tension that dramatizes the issue. Look, Congress, you have the ability to end poverty, end mass incarceration, and end the endless wars. We wrote it down for you. There's no pretending, oh, we can't do anything. You absolutely have the power. Now you have to make a choice on October 15th. Will you get this done before the election and go down in history as one of the most transformational Congresses in generations? Or will you refuse and face the consequences? You want to go big or go home? And so this generates that creative tension. Dr. King also wrote in his letter from Birmingham jail that in a nonviolent campaign, there are 4 basic steps: determining injustices to be addressed, negotiation, self-purification, and direct action. And the American Union's legislative campaigns are also cover those 4 steps. Determining injustices to be addressed. In 2023, American Union members were invited to submit issues that they thought should be in this year's legislative package. And from that, we developed a list of demands, list that on January 15th, Martin Luther King's birthday, the first fast for peace of the year. And over the next 6 months, we looked at those lists. So a couple got dropped, and we went through first an internal negotiation phase, right, examining these things. After that, August 1st, we gave Congress a chance to see the draft, and went through an external negotiation phase, gave Congress an opportunity to weigh in on the blueprint and request the blueprint, on the Trump-Biden peace plan, and request amendments. Self-purification, again, is the monthly fast for peace is an aspect of self-purification. And our campaign leading up to October 15th, the fast for peace, is the culmination of this self-purification before on November 5th we take direct action and we vote as a block to decide the outcome of the 2024 election. I'll be honest with you, it wasn't until I was almost done writing this novel that I realized that these 4 steps corresponded to the 4 steps of the American Union model. So it's always, I guess I want to say, gratifying when when you reach a conclusion and find out that other people have reached the same conclusion. Historical figures who are much smarter than you. So, all right, that's the letter from Birmingham jail. Then Dr. King also identified 6 principles of nonviolence. And so let's talk about those. First and foremost, he said nonviolence is a way of life for courageous people. Nonviolence is not for the way of heart or for those who are afraid of conflict. And Dr. King, he exemplified the courage that was necessary to transform social and political norms. And so the American Union is boldly challenging the status quo in politics by rejecting this lesser of two evils paradigm. That lesser of two evils paradigm that keeps Americans polarized, that makes, the Republicans say, oh, the Democrats are radical socialists, leftists, Marxists, they're going to destroy America. And the Democrats say, oh, the Republicans are authoritarian, racists, and they're going to destroy America. And it's all about demonizing the other side. So by rejecting this and saying we are not going to play that game, we're not going to pick the lesser of two evils. Instead, we're going to be conscientious objectors to partisan politics. However, when you do that, as a matter of principle, when you do that, then as a practical matter, you run the risk of electing the the worse of two evils. Nonviolence is a way of life for courageous people. When a union goes on strike, right? When a labor union goes on strike, the lesser of two evils is to just put up with bad working conditions and keep their jobs, but they risk the greater evil, which is losing their jobs completely. And when a tenants union goes on strike and withholds their rent, the lesser of two evils is putting up with lousy living conditions and keeping a roof over their head. The greater of two evils would be, losing their apartments, their homes. But it's only by being courageous, being willing to risk the greater evil, that they are able to renegotiate, to better negotiate for themselves, to collectively bargain to improve their lives. All right, number 2, nonviolence seeks to win friendship and understanding. Part of the civil rights movement's success was its ability to build bridges among groups toward what Dr. King called the beloved community. And as a union of voters, a nonpartisan group of voters, you can constantly build bridges among people with different political priorities. The Trump-Biden peace plan has 101 different policies in it. So there's lots of things in there for people to like, and a few things that people don't like. I don't like everything that's in it. And so, as we talked about, right, the fasting and the compromise, two sides of the same coin. We've got to willingly give something up. So I'm willing to compromise on the things I don't like. You compromise on the things you don't like. And by sticking together, we all come out ahead. So Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Libertarians, Greens, Populists, Forwardists, whatever, they can all find things that they like, and that's how we can win friendship and understanding. Listening, offering dignity, offering people a chance to be heard and see their demands, their goals recognized. All right, number 3, nonviolence seeks to defeat injustice, not people. Dr. King identified that the enemy was not any particular individual committing evil acts, rather it was injustice. It was the structure of things. And so again, as we are in a very polarized election cycle, rather than wasting that energy trying to gin up hate for the other side, instead we can work on solving the problems that create so much of this injustice. So by focusing on solutions, by focusing on getting at the real issues, poverty, racism, and militarism, the American Union uses this principle to offer a positive vision of what we can be, instead of trying to create fear of other people. All right, number 4, unearned suffering for a just cause is redemptive. Gandhi obviously is known for his fasting, and after Martin Luther King visited India in 1959, he adopted the practice as well. He would fast for 2 days when he was arrested, as a way of centering and focusing himself while he was incarcerated. And again, the fast for peace is that unearned suffering for a just cause, and our just cause is fighting the triple evils of poverty, racism, and militarism. This is the fast of moral pressure. It serves as a demonstration of unity, and again, a willingness to sacrifice for the cause of justice and peace. A few years after the first National Day of Fasting, Gandhi said, "It is our duty to strengthen by our fasting those who hold the same ideals but are likely to weaken under pressure." And again, the ideals that drive the American Union reforms are the preamble to the Constitution. They're the ones that, again, the Constitution is our common political ancestor. So people who support the Constitution, we can help strengthen them and say, here's a better way to support the Constitution by coming together to accomplish these things, to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. And so, again, one of the duties of nonviolence being to lead by example. I am willing to lead by example in inspiring people to participate in October 15th's Fast for Peace. So I'm on day 12 of my fast, and I'm feeling good today. I'm keeping my electrolytes up, and my weight's down to 188 pounds. I'm still a healthy weight, and I'll continue to fast until the 24th day, October 15th. And if you're willing to join with other Americans in de-escalating the 2024 election, you're invited to join us for the last 24 hours, the Fast for Peace on October 15th. And there's a pledge form in the description, the description on YouTube below. All right, number 5, nonviolence chooses love over hate. 1957, Dr. King explained the importance of love as the most effective weapon in his fight against injustice. Love is creative and redemptive. He said, love builds up and unites, hate tears down and destroys. Again, the American Union model is not premised on defeating any particular politician or any political party. Politics does not have to be a zero-sum game where we win by knocking someone else down. Instead, we can all come out ahead by addressing these core problems in the United States and create a win-win scenario. And so by instead of hating any opponents, offering them love, offering them dignity. And there are a lot of people who are resistant to that, right? Once you've got it in your head that one of those political parties is evil, and you don't want to offer them love, you don't want to offer them a chance to succeed. Some people are very resistant to the idea of Donald Trump succeeding or Kamala Harris succeeding. They want to see them fail, and that is hate. Hate, Gandhi said, is the subtlest form of violence. So Dr. King also said, hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And so the solution to all this political polarization that we have in the United States, it's not to fight harder. It's not to hate harder and try and defeat the other guy. The solution is to use love, to offer love and offer a peaceful resolution, again, where everyone can come out ahead. That's what we can do. All right, number 6, Dr. King said, nonviolence believes the universe is on the side of justice. Or he said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And America has exemplified that in its history. We've gone through bursts of self-improvement when we aligned ourselves with the highest ideals of the founding principles. Again, the American Union, the principles of the duties of nonviolence are trusting people, believing the best in them. It's one of the aspects of unconditional basic income. Instead of a safety net that is full of holes and letting tens of millions of people fall through down into poverty, unconditional basic income says your country has faith in you. Here's $1,400 a month to be a better American, however you see fit. We trust you to make good decisions. Now, in a nation of 300 million citizens, there are some who will make bad decisions. There are some who will not live up to the highest expectations. But that's okay. We can love them anyway. And that unconditional love is an aspect of unconditional basic income, that faith that, okay, well, you made bad decisions this month. Next month, you're going to still get your $1,400 unconditional basic income. And we're going to give you another chance. We're not giving up on you. And just think for a moment how the philosophical perspective that you bring to ending poverty makes a difference, right? Where we have a safety net and says, all right, oh, you need help? Well, we're going to assume that you're lying. We're going to assume that you don't need help. But if you jump through a bunch of hoops and you prove it, then we'll help you. Whereas unconditional basic income says, we love you and trust you, and we believe the best in you unconditionally. Instead of assuming that people have the worst qualities, assuming that they have the best ones. And again, even if it's not true 100% of the time, that philosophical framework impacts the rest of society, impacts the way that we think about each other, right? Instead of welfare reform has often been used as a way of dividing people, right? Because when you give only to some people, you divide people. You draw a line between them and says, okay, this section gets some, these people do not. And with unconditional basic income, you draw a circle. Draw a circle around every American and say, everybody's included. We're all in this together. We're all American citizens, and we all get the same $1,400 a month for adults, a third of that for kids. That's enough to lift every American family up above the poverty line. Yeah, so coming back to the universe as being on the side of justice. Again, the United States, we've done this in the past. We talked a few nights ago about the Phoenix cycle, about how America has upgraded social contract every 4 generations, every 80 years, and starting with the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution as America 1.0, through the Civil War and Reconstruction as America 2.0, through the New Deal as America 3.0, and then where we are now, we have the opportunity to once again improve ourselves as a nation and usher in America 4.0. All right, what else we got here? So I find it interesting, these 6 principles of nonviolence. They are very similar to 6 points that Gandhi came up with in 1918. It's also interesting. I'm just going to show this, pull this back up one more time. All right, that 2, 3, and 5, they kind of have, there's kind of a lot of overlap, right? Nonviolence seeks to win friendship and understanding. Nonviolence seeks to defeat injustice, not people. Nonviolence chooses love over hate. There's kind of a lot of overlap there. What's missing, though, is when Gandhi came up with 6 points, again, that are very similar to this, one of his 6 points was truthfulness, being truthful. And so I find it kind of interesting that Dr. King did not include that as a principle of nonviolence. Gandhi's truth and nonviolence were his twin beacons. And just to be clear, I have no suspicion at all that Dr. King was aware of Gandhi's 6 points. They were in a leaflet in 1918 during a mill workers' strike that he laid them out, and it was kind of an obscure pamphlet. So I find it interesting that they both came up with 6 points and that there was an awful lot of similarity, but Gandhi included truthfulness. All right, seeing no questions in the chat, I think we're gonna move towards wrapping things up here. Once again, if you'd like to be entered to win a free autographed copy of Looking Backward from the Tricentennial, A Timely Tale of Nonviolent Revolution, that explains the connections between American history, the principles of nonviolence, the game theory, the various reforms, the how and why of unconditional basic income, all of these, the power of a union of voters, all of these things in a series of conversations. The protagonist, Julian West, wakes up in the year 2076, and Dr. Leet and his friends explain exactly how the American Union was able to stage a nonviolent revolution in the present day. So if you're interested in winning a free copy, you can enter by filling out any of the forms on anamericanunion.com. Several of them are included in the description below on YouTube. All right. So tomorrow there's all the rest of these sessions all the way through October 14th are scheduled, and you can see what we're going to be discussing each night. Tomorrow we're going to conclude Title III, peace on the Korean Peninsula and improving America's moral standing in the world. And then Friday and Saturday, we are going to look at healthcare reform. And what do we got after that? On Sunday, we're going to look at election mechanics and the general strike in the ballot box. The general strike in the ballot box is refusing to take sides, refusing to play this lesser of two evils game. This refusal to demonize anyone as a matter of principle, while still remaining the deciders. And if you click on the link to the general strike page, you'll see that the threat of a general strike in the ballot box is to make a endorsement for president at random based on the closing number of the Dow Jones Industrial Average on October 30th. If the Trump-Biden peace plan, if neither party's presidential candidate has cooperated with the American Union to make a random endorsement, where if the ones digit, the closing number is an odd number, then to endorse Donald Trump, grant his wish to be the 47th president of the United States, and if it's an even number, to endorse Kamala Harris for president. We talked about nonviolence as offering dignity, and the American Union, again, is about offering people a way to succeed by helping, not trying to kick out all the members of Congress and kick everyone out of Washington, but instead offer them the opportunity to do big transformative things and help them create the political will, help develop the political will for them to do so, where they can say, well, we didn't have any choice. We couldn't willingly lose the election, and give them the coverage that they may need. However, if they refuse the opportunity, then a general strike in the ballot box would withhold dignity from the winner. And so for 4 years, the occupant of the Oval Office would know that they were not there because the American people wanted them there. They were there only because of a random event. So the best scenario is a win-win one. The best one is when we all come out ahead. But as a union of swing voters, our power is being the deciders. And if that power is not used, then it's wasted. Refusing to vote or voting for a third party mathematically makes no impact on the presidential race. We talked about this a few nights ago about the gamification. So, all right, I'm going to stop there. It is now 8 o'clock. Thanks, and we'll give everyone one more minute to submit their entries, and I'll pick a random person and contact you. Thanks very much, and I hope to see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and continuing Title III.